Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Don't Tell Me How to Fan. My name is Josh Albrecht, and with me, as always, is my good friend, John Taylor. John, it has been a long time since we've done an episode. It feels like it's been forever because so many things happened during times when I figured this is a downtime. It was not.
The world keeps churning, just because we're not in the Super Bowl doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
That's very true. And more than just a Super Bowl happened, I want to first say the reason why you didn't see an episode last week was that the family was in Disney. I know, weird.
Have you been to Disneyland or Disney World before?
I have, yeah. We go like all the time. So, and we were there again. And it was a blast. We had a really good time. I got to see some friends as well as hang out with the family. The baby was really well behaved.
That's great.
Which was just the blessing of all blessings, not having to deal with a grumpy 6-month-old. So that was great. And as we were down there, there was this thing called the Super Bowl happening.
Oh yeah.
You heard of this?
I did hear about it, and it happened. I think everyone in the world except for the greater Kansas City area had the outcome that they wanted.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I talked to a few people that said, is there a way for both teams to lose?
Sadly, that was never going to happen.
I know. But that's what I think a lot of people's first choice was. And then it was, all right, well, if one team has to win, then make it the Eagles.
Yeah.
And the Eagles beat the Chiefs 40-22, and it wasn't even that close.
No, it was 40-0 at one point, and then they put up 6 points in the third. Yeah, it was an absolute arse kicking, I'll say, because it's so early in the episode. But yeah, I don't know. It's incredible. A few things I want to highlight straight away.
Yes, please do.
Man, having your front get home by themselves is really
great.
Must be nice. Yeah,
Must be nice.
Who would have thought? Yeah. I mean, they didn't blitz Mahomes a single time, and I mean, I don't know. It's a whole confluence of things. I think Mahomes started off slow, and then he had to start forcing. I mean, he held onto the ball a lot longer than he typically would. I think, it's just one of those things. I think there's a lot of factors, but I don't want to discredit the Eagles because they played with their hair on fire. They knew they could get after him. The Chiefs famously have a pretty bad offensive line. When you look at these two teams, I think we talked about this. I was like, if you tell me the Eagles beat the Chiefs, I wouldn't be surprised. But if you tell me the Chiefs find a way to win, I also wouldn't be surprised. I think on paper, the Eagles are a better football team, but there is something to be said about like championship medal and, if you want to
there before.
Right. Exactly. But I think 7 AFC championships in a row. This is the third Super Bowl. No football team has played more games than the Kansas City Chiefs in the last decade, probably. And I think you saw that on the field. So it was interesting. What were your big takeaways? I mean, that was the staggering one for me. And I know I just answered your question and I'm still talking, but just to finish up my point. I just think it goes to show just what the Packers are desperately needing out of whatever this configuration is. And I would love to talk about some of that fun free agency buzz that's going on later in the episode as well when we dive back into the Packers a little bit. Yep.
But
the
question for the big thing that I was focusing on, my big takeaway was that it wasn't the Saquon Barkley game, right? So what we saw was the Eagles relying on Saquon and their defense. And Jalen Hurts was either injured or he was just – no one wanted to give Jalen Hurts any credit. And I don't know how many yards. I think it was under 60, something that Saquon Barkley had in that game. Didn't matter because Jalen Hurts came to play. And that made me think about the Packers, right? If the Packers, I feel like right now have a setup that is similar to what the Eagles have in an elite running back and a very talented quarterback that we're trying to figure out still, is this going to be like, is this guy elite or is he just good? Where are we at with him after he had the super great year 2 years ago and then obviously regressed a little bit this last year? But there was a lot of views or angles that I saw of this game with the Eagles that I went, man, the Packers are right there. Packers can do that. They're just missing a few pieces. And then they just need the opportunity to get there. I thought the Chiefs were going to find a way to do this. I didn't want them to. It just almost seemed like I never wanted them to. This is just what Mahomes does.
Yeah.
And so to see him not do it this time was relieving as a sports fan, but also gives you hope. Hey, the Eagles stopped this team. The Packers could stop this team too. Besides that, I was kind of disappointed in just the overall game. It was over too quick.
Yeah, 20-0 at halftime is a tough look. And like we were talking
for
about,
me, it was right. It was the first score by the Eagles out of the half in the third quarter.
Oh, sure. Right. Yeah. I mean, they just
at that point I was like, okay. Because you think like, all right, bad half, but it's Mahomes.
Yeah.
Right? They're gonna come back. You know, they score, get a stop, score, boom, they're right back in this thing. Nope. Another score by the Eagles, and then you're going, okay.
Yeah.
We could probably go to bed if we wanted to. We won't.
Well, the problem is I'm on the West Coast, so that game is just smack dab in the middle of prime time.
Yeah. When did that start for you? What was that? 4:30?
Kickoff is like 3:00. It's like a 5:00 game, right? I mean, I get it. It's like it's pretty good. Actually, it's not bad. I don't mind losing. I never really loved losing my entire night to the Super Bowl, even if the Super Bowl is fun. I'm weird like that, but. I think you mentioned it, but man, I mean, Jalen Hurts played really well. Saquon Barkley, not really a factor, but he didn't have to be, right? I mean, they got on him, they poured it on fast. And it's just a good reminder. This is that conversation that's been like circling around Packers stuff where people, to bring it back to the Packers, speaking of the Super Bowl Radio Row, Josh Jacobs was on a ton of different shows, podcasts, radio, basically anybody who would listen. He was saying we need a real wide receiver one. He was like, no shade to my guys, I think they're great, but I just think we need somebody in that room that has been here before and shows them how it's done. And it's like, look at AJ Brown. Like no better example than that guy.
Yep,
he is absolutely a guy. He's their guy. And in big games like this, you don't need Saquon. Somehow you don't need the best offensive rusher that this, like currently having the best season that anyone's ever had, because
they still had to scheme for him.
Right. You're multiple in a lot of fronts. Exactly. But I just mean like AJ Brown is a guy. He's like, he's on the level of those like top tier wide receivers who you can scheme for him all you want. And ultimately he's still going to go get balls, he only went 3 for 43, but
big plays.
Exactly. When they counted, I think 14 yards. Devonta Smith had a huge game. And that was the big one I was surprised about. 4 receptions, but for 70 yards. He 46 46 yards long. And they got a couple nice shots to Dallas Goedert. So I mean, I just think Jalen did a really nice job of distributing the ball. We're talking about 17. Yeah. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different wide receivers with catches in the Super Bowl. Pretty good. Well,
and then obviously the defense, right? 2 huge takeaways, picks. Obviously, Cooper DeJean with the pick six.
The birthday pick 6. Him and Saquon. Right. That was their birthday.
And then the interception on what was it, like the 10-yard line? Yeah. I mean, just a huge momentum shift.
Yep.
That you look at, it's possible, right? It's possible. There's just that is what probably killed me the most, was watching that and going, okay, just like Josh Jacobs said, they're right there. They just need a few more pieces, but they're right there. So before we get into the Packers and the free agent hot rumors and everything else, let's talk about the rest of the Super Bowl. Favorite commercial? I thought the commercials were very weak overall.
Yeah.
The Mountain Dew commercial with Seal. Yeah. Got to get the Baja Blast one. Got a lot of love.
Yeah.
I was a fan of that.
Can I be honest? I was at a party. I didn't watch a single Super Bowl commercial.
Oh, really?
In between the plays, I was mingling, hanging out with friends. There's like
that.
So no secret, and now that it's on full display, I do improv comedy, and this is my team in this poster back here for the not audio listeners. There's like a huge improv Super Bowl party where nobody actually really likes football except for like me and the guy who's throwing it, and so we just like really intently watch it, and then I just hover the potluck style.
Yeah, of course.
It's really fun, but yeah, I did not really catch many commercials. I don't really get moved by them either, but I did hear a lot of that same buzz that the Baja Blast one was pretty funny.
Yeah, I think overall, a lot of people are saying that one. Did you watch the halftime show?
Yeah, I love Kendrick Lamar though. Separate of the halftime show, I'm a huge Kendrick Lamar fan. I really like hip hop and like modern rap music. So I think if you like rap music, you were probably really stoked on Kendrick Lamar's performance. I mean, he's a highly touted rapper. And so if like rapping isn't your thing, that's fine. But it's just like, there's plenty of music that gets played at the Super Bowl. That's not my favorite. And I just, it just is what it is. So, but yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, I don't want to get into the X's and O's of like the lawsuits and the Drake and Kendrick beef, but it's pretty wild to be at the Super Bowl just singing about how Drake might be up to some, let's just say, less than litigious or decent things.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was my big thing is that I was like, you're not used to hearing that, right? Yeah. You're not used to hearing the halftime show being about, going after other people. Or,
yeah.
Well, I mean, that's just play the hits.
Yeah.
Play the hits. You got 12 minutes. Play the hits.
Yeah. Well, that's what he's got like the most amount of buzz for. I mean, it's funny because he's such a good artist. He didn't really release anything during the pandemic. He came back with 2 records now. But you're talking about the reason why he got shoved back in the spotlight was that Drake beef. And some of those diss tracks were great. I mean, you're talking about like Not Like Us. They had like that Netflix, like, I think it was like a Juneteenth celebration. And it's the same thing. There's like the entire crypto arena is like sold out and everyone's just singing songs about how they think Drake might be a pedophile. Like it's like pretty wild. So, it's one of those things. I think like it was really cool seeing like Serena Williams just on stage doing like the Crip walk. Like, it's just, it's just like, listen, I say however you want to do it. It's remember that brand FUBU?
Yeah.
You know what it stands for? That's how I feel about rap music. It's like I'm more than happy to observe from the sidelines, but like I'm more than willing to admit I don't get why it's as I like it probably there's levels to this, and I'm not really at any of the levels that I should be commenting on it past. I like rap music and I thought it was cool. So
yeah,
that's my half soapbox about it.
I can't remember the last time that I saw a halftime show that I loved.
Yeah.
Period. So I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that's been my response to the halftime show for 10 years. It's just I thought it was okay.
Yeah. Because the truth is, the halftime show is never going to be a D&D podcast at times 2 speed, which is all I really want to be listening to. You know what I mean? So
you're right. It definitely isn't going to be.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
But hey, I mean, if Roger Goodell's up for pitches, I'll definitely.
I'm sure they'll get right on that.
There's probably some fun Dimension 21 offs they can do.
Oh man.
I do think it's interesting, like the way music is so, like popular music is so not popular anymore, right? Like because of access, people really can kind of like hyperfixate and like the stuff they like, right? And so like you're not on the radio listening to like, well, you were talk radio, but it's like people aren't listening to like the radio for music specifically. It's not like this like this huge thing. Like it's like really kind of like Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, internet streaming like music has turned into the new norm. So I do wonder, like, is it the best entertainment medium? It's like the fastest. It shouldn't change per se, but I think ultimately people just have more opinions about music because they can just kind of glob onto the stuff they like. And so, it's like if it was a country music artist, I just wouldn't watch. I'd be like, oh, I don't like it. Somebody like, wouldn't you care? And it's like, I don't know if I would, to be honest. There's not much there for me,
I just think that there's something, and I know you've been in many bands. I don't know how many people know that out there, but you've been in many bands over the years, and I think there's something about live music that just adds an extra element to a live sporting event of that magnitude. And so I love the idea of there being something. I just wish it would go back to, I don't need it to be so much for us at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like The Weeknd. Remember when The Weeknd did it however many years ago?
Yeah.
Excuse me. And it was like he's weaving through all these things, and
Yeah.
they're showing the camera. I'm like, just do the concert.
Yeah.
On the field, just do the concert and then perform the music.
Yeah.
And then get back to the football.
Yeah.
And that is in that sense, I wish they'd go back to a little bit more traditional. I don't care what the type of music is.
Yeah.
Just do a concert.
Yeah.
For the
perform for the people live. And that'll probably
the people at home, we're well aware that it's not for us.
Yeah. Well, it is funny because you talk about like the Super Bowl and the spectacle of it all and how it is really not representative of football at large, right? It's like you talk about how like 60 plus 70+%, maybe more, I don't have the full, are all the seats are bought by businesses and they use them as like weird networking opportunities and like ways to like grease deals. And then you look at the commercials that are now like millions of dollars to produce. That Baja Blast commercial was in the like probably like tens of millions to create, like, and now you're looking at the halftime performance just as much. Like this needs to be like a micro performance. Like this isn't the ballet, guys. Like just play. It's fine if it's just a concert. And I think like that I understand wanting to put on a big show, but you're right. I think like it in terms of products, it's like really lacking for the people there. And I think that is a direct reflection of our experience at home. But and I think people have also come to really expect like these super medleys. It's like, so they like what I think like what a lot of people really want is like the halftime artist, but what they really want to see is like remember, I'm trying to think, like there was the year, let's say it was the year J-Lo did it, right? And Shakira came out, but I'm sure people wanted to see
the end of that show was amazing.
I wasn't too mad about that one. That was the one I remember enjoying.
I remember literally tweeting out immediately after and saying, please someone make that into a GIF right now.
But you think about like every I just mean like every song J-Lo ever had, like she featured on, or everyone was like, they better be there. And then we want to see their biggest song. So it's like you're doing this weird like daisy chain of like, well, Kendrick had a song with so-and-so, and now I want to see so-and-so's favorite song. And he did a song with Justin Bieber. So why wouldn't Justin Bieber, you know what I mean? They're doing all these like loops about like, it's funny because we might actually touch on wrestling, but there's a lot of fantasy booking around the halftime show. And most people are let down because it's like, ultimately it really is at the discretion of the artist. And like, it's like widely reported that like, Kendrick didn't get paid at all for this spot. He like lost money. Same thing with The Weeknd, like to get the production and the show.
No band gets paid.
Right. That's because it's like the huge thing in exposure. But it's like some of this stuff is like to make it such a show. It's like they're pouring so much money into it. So it's like I understand not wanting to like.
And I wish they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Just go out there perform.
Yeah, totally. Just do the Creed thing and have a weird bald guy flying in a zip line.
Legendary.
Yeah.
We're still talking about that concert.
Yeah, that's a great one. Man, Dallas Cowboys Thanksgiving was like 2001 or 4. Yeah, what do you think? Do you think it'll be a country? There hasn't been a country artist in a long time. I'm seeing a lot of people just assuming it's going to be like Sabrina Carpenter, which also makes a lot of sense. The other thing we have to realize is we're getting older. I think about like the artists that I was excited about 10, 15 years ago. It's like that is the Sabrina Carpenter equivalent. Like she's the biggest pop star on the world. Like it would be a huge get. You know what I mean? It's like
also I feel like we are at a weird age. The bands that were huge or that we loved at our age are also not the ones that were the favorites of the old rich people that are still making those decisions, and also too old for the young people who are now downloading all the songs. We're in this middle area, and it's not nothing we love is gonna ever see the stage.
Well, yeah. Like I said, I love the halftime show, but I love Kendrick, so it's fine with me. But
and this has been your music portion of Don't Tell Me How to Fan.
And that's the first ever. Yeah, don't tell me how to be a fan of music. You just like pop a little thing under the fan graphic. We don't have a producer; it's not happening. Of music. Yeah, we'll hit this. We might hit wrestling. Did we mention that pitchers and catchers don't report till Thursday? And the only thing left. I mean, we probably should transition to the only real bit of news that happened in Wisconsin sports.
Well, hold on. Before we do, let me.
Sure. Of course. Yeah. You're right. There's that whole part you didn't get to talk about yet.
The big thing was that I was in Disney World. I don't know if you know this, John, but the Super Bowl MVP goes to Disney World. Yeah. After they find out that they are the Super Bowl MVP. Now, I did find out from a friend of mine who used to also be on the radio. His name's John Kuhn. He played for the Packers.
Out of Shippensburg.
That's correct. That they make every player that dresses sign a contract that says, hey, you gotta, if you win MVP, you have to say, I'm going to Disney World and we are going to fly you there with your family and we're going to give you $50,000.
Wow.
And I mean, I knew that already before John said it. It's been in documentaries and all this other stuff. I watch a lot of Disney documentaries too. So I'm just, I'm all over the stuff. And I just thought it was funny because it's not like the fullback needs to worry about that. Yeah, everyone. They literally, they're like, we don't care. Of course, it was Jalen Hurts. I mean, it was going to be whatever quarterback. But I was like, I could be at Magic Kingdom. I could be there for the Super Bowl parade.
Yeah.
We get to Magic Kingdom at noon. Maybe it was 11:30. 11:30. 3 hours before Jalen Hurts is supposed to show up, a little float, wave to the people with Mickey Mouse before everyone else. And it is just flooded with Eagles fans.
Go Birds.
And they are shouting across Main Street at each other. E-A-G. And I'm just like, oh, this is awful.
Yeah.
This is a terrible place to be right now.
Yeah, of course.
If it was after the Packers won, what a party. I mean, it was literally like just a flooding and takeover of sports fans of the Eagles. It was nuts. But not being an Eagles fan, I felt so out of place and like, I'm sorry, I don't want to participate.
It would have been cool to be around Jalen, but this
is
sucks.
not. This is not fun. And then he came out and he was on his little parade float for however long, and he waved to the crowd. And
what if they put him in like the Pope Mobile? Do you remember that thing from the 90s?
Yeah, of course.
Is this too dated of a reference?
No,
glass case.
Well aware about
bulletproof glass case Pope Mobile.
Yeah, no, they just they have him on a little parade float with Mickey. I think Goofy was on there too, and everyone just waves. He was wearing like a black sweatsuit, and then he goes out the door, and that's it. And I was like, okay, that's totally not.
It's kind of fun. I mean, it is. It's one of those things. Like, it might not be like if you would have flown down as a non-Eagles fan to like go see the parade for some reason. I mean, that would be. I mean, think about all those Eagles fans that just got to like. I don't know. They're probably pretty excited too. To just randomly be in Disney World at the same time and be able to go do that is pretty cool.
Oh, trust me, they knew the possibility because leading up to it, the days before, we saw tons of Chiefs fans too.
Sure. Yeah.
Chiefs fans just stayed away from Magic Kingdom.
Yeah. They were all at Epcot that
right. They were like, let's
they were
go
pounding,
anywhere
they were
else.
pounding beers in Germany or
that's exactly
hanging out. They were hanging out with Figment. Is it Figment, right?
Yeah.
Figment, I went to Disney World once in 2008, 7. I don't remember. It was my first time on a commercial airplane. So
yeah, you're doing really well. I'm really proud of you.
Yeah. Oh, this is a fun fact and an aside. Sorry, guys. I haven't seen Josh in a while. Do you know the first time I was on a plane? Do you remember this? My first time on an airplane, I went skydiving. I was 18.
Oh my God. Remember that
night, I went with you to a Pat McCurdy show.
Yes,
at Club Paragon. Because I remember I was wearing my skydiving. Yeah. Shout out to one of your
okay. So 2 things that John, I can't believe I forgot this because 2 things that you tell me all the time. Or like, you ever been hanging out with a friend and then they always like play the hits to someone new?
I got a hit.
Like, I got a hit. Like, okay. Like I've heard this story 1,000 times, but yeah, John, go ahead. Tell your story. Yeah. The 2 that he always pulled out whenever I was around. One was, first time I was ever in a plane, I jumped out of it.
Yeah.
And the second was he always felt the need whenever I was talking about me being a bowler or being near with friends.
Interrupt you right now to say the same thing.
He had to let everyone know that he's the only person who bowled a perfect game on my Nintendo Wii.
You're trying to downplay it. You were so mad. I bowled a perfect game on your Wii console.
I did. The reason why I cared is because you cared so much. I was like, I'm not going to hear the end of this, and You're hate lying. That.
You're downplaying it, and that's okay. Listen. I said it before, and I'll say it again. I will pay you $200 if you can find that Wii, so I can just display it on a little TV screen in my office.
Exactly my point.
At this point, it's for the lore.
But I'm pretty sure I do have it. actually.
You
and I could use that $200.
I could do it. Just have it permanently displayed on one of my monitors. Just the 300. My mom's in a Wii bowling league. That's why it got brought up.
Get out of here.
Yeah, she in Arizona. They have since retired, and they're in like a rec league. It's like part of the like community, and she is in a Wii bowling league.
So I
was trying to give her pointers. I was like, "Yo, mom,
take it from a professional Wii
bowler?
Okay,
yeah,
I can give you lessons."
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Anyways.
Yeah. Jumped on the plane. So the Super Bowl parade. If it was your team, super great and well worth it. If it's not, and you're just like, well, I'm a fan of football, it's not that great. Now, I did have to think to myself, if it would have been Mahomes, would it have been a little bit different? Probably.
Yeah,
I would have probably enjoyed it a little bit more if it was, a quarterback that was at a all-star level, or like I thought, like imagine if it would have been Kelsey, or if Kelsey would have came with it. Like there could have been more opportunities than I think.
Yeah. Well, I just think if Patrick Mahomes would have been there, the rest of the Muppets cast might have been there too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they would have gotten Kermit in there and everyone. Yeah, it would have been good.
Yeah. Well, he is Kermit, right?
Yeah.
So he would have been smooching on Miss Piggy, Statler and Waldorf for telling us PBR sucked.
Oh man.
Anyways, a lot of pop culture going on in this episode.
Yeah, we are. You guys, you don't understand, okay? We had a whole 9 days off. There's a lot to cover. Yep. Getting things back to Wisconsin sports, and we'll get there. I know there's a lot to get to, but Aaron Rodgers, remember him? You remember him?
Yeah, I do.
Do. He's apparently not going to be quarterbacking for the New York Jets.
That's right.
Surprised? Yeah. Not surprised?
I'm not surprised. I think if you look at his body of work in the Jets, yikes is how I would describe it.
Okay, but I thought from stats I saw, it's not like the win-loss stuff wasn't great, but it wasn't like he had an absolutely atrocious season.
Yeah. He pulled it out towards the end. He started looking more like himself. I think the truth is that Aaron Rodgers just is going to, at 40 plus post ACL torn late in life in terms of like football career.
Yeah.
He just needs a very specific team, and it's going to have to be a very specific situation. So no, I mean, I'm not surprised. They have a pretty high pick. Garrett Wilson was like, yo, if bro comes back, trade me, Aaron Glenn. I don't know why you as a new coaching regime would want to have him for try to make him work for another year at best.
Yeah.
You got to rip that Band-Aid off. It's time. And he's not going to come in. He's not going to play ball and help be a mentor fully. It's not like you would bench him.
Clearly we know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you think he ends up next?
I heard a couple interesting things floated on the GM Shuffle podcast. Rams as like a secret sleeper destination. Matthew Stafford cannot play on that contract. That's like one of those things that I think people are failing to consider, is that the contract at present is like untenable for the organization. So it would be interesting if they moved on from him. Maybe the one I've heard the most that makes the most amount of sense to me truly is like maybe the Titans. That's one that maybe could happen. I've heard like whispers, maybe the Steelers, because I don't know.
Steelers.
There's rumbles that like maybe they weren't in love with Russ, but then people were saying that they were like, I don't remember what show I was listening to, but they were like, well, we were like talking to Russ around the Super Bowl, and he seemed super positive about staying in Pittsburgh.
Well, yeah, what is he supposed to go to the media and be like, yeah, no, this is gonna suck?
Well, I don't know. I mean, this was like conversationally, like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
At least around the Super Bowl time, you're like rubbing elbows with everybody. So you get a lot of impressions or senses there that wouldn't be considered tampering by league standards. But I mean, I do see a world where maybe Russ goes to the Raiders, a little Pete Carroll, like revisit.
Yep.
Justin Fields is not the guy. I think Tennessee could be an interesting one. I mean, they don't have the guy there. If they don't, I don't remember where exactly they're picking, but maybe they're comfortable with bringing in Rodgers. You draft a star player at that. I don't remember what pick they have, but it's pretty high, obviously. If the board doesn't break, maybe you bring him in and then you see what happens for 2 years. The other truth is maybe nobody in the league wants him. You know what I mean? He's not terrible, but he's also going to want a lot of money. You're not going to sign him to like a 1 year, $10 million deal. Like, the guy is the most talented person to ever throw the football. That is how I refer to Aaron Rodgers. And I don't think he's going to take less than like 20 mil as a hired gun. Like his ego is too insane at this point. At this point, he's got a lot to prove because this is not how I'm guessing how he wants his career to end. But I don't think that's going to make him desperate. I just think like it's hurt feelings makes bad decisions, I think sometimes. So
I wanted him to end before. I didn't want to see him get to this point. And I just don't see a situation to where he isn't having to play that game of, well, he has to prove he can still do it every year until he just can't. And so I would prefer that he just be done, whether it be him or be his decision or be the NFL's decision.
Yeah.
Just I don't care how it gets to that point, but
yeah,
he's got to hang it up.
Said,
it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, you were in a cabin doing a darkness retreat in my lovely state of Oregon, and you were wondering if you were even going to do it. And he said that he wasn't gonna until he found out. It's like it was like a full spite decision. So it's like just hang it up, my guy. You said you're gonna, So I don't know. It's interesting. But speaking of free agents and potential signings, some rumor mill stuff going around. Devontae Adams report saying that he'd be willing to play. Apparently it was the West Coast. I think that's a wink and a nod just saying, get me out of here. I think that report, I think he could be gettable for the Packers. If I'm honest, I think he really could be. Myles Garrett officially requesting a trade from the Cleveland Browns. There's some stuff going off there. Max Crosby's getting tagged by Keyshawn Nixon as recent as today saying, come to a winning organization. My guy, I actually shared it. Give me 1 second. He said, and I quote, "Come be great with a real team, my boy." And I couldn't agree more. I would be excited about a Max Crosby pickup. Whispers that DK could be available. Deebo Samuel recently just got told he could seek a trade. And then T. Higgins is obviously the free agent darling in everyone's eye, apparently. So
when those names are fresh on the griddle, I want to ask you, two-parter. Who do you want most out of those names, and who do you think is most likely out of those names?
Okay, I have to pick one to answer both those. Okay,
doesn't have to be the same person.
Who do I want? Oh, also Khalil Mack, but he actually is like gettable. I don't even think he should be on that list because I think you could just sign him to like a 1 or 2 year deal. That's like perfectly reasonable. This is not like a blockbuster signing or trade. So I think I think they should do everything they can to get Khalil Mack. They have a little extra in the cookie jar. I think you should front load a contract for him and just see how he plays for a year. And I've never been more certain of that after watching the Eagles get pressure with 4. So just to say that, I think Khalil Mack at 34 he has shown no signs that he's slowing down. And if this is the year that he does it, you pay him a year and you go, okay, well, we tried. And I'd be super happy with that, So who do I want? I want Devontae Adams.
More than anyone else, huh? More than Myles Garrett, more than...
Well, so when you dig into the Myles Garrett stuff, the truth is like the Browns can literally not afford to trade him. It would put so much dead cap on a situation that's already pretty screwed up in the first place. They would have to trade or restructure 3 or 4 guys down the line before Myles Garrett could even get moved. That wouldn't completely wreck their ability to trade him. So in like salary cap doesn't exist. Yes, I want Myles Garrett, but I'm like,
realistically,
it's just like the hard truths of it. So many things would have to happen before we could even get to the point of even being able to have this conversation with him. That it's, I don't know. Maybe it isn't Devontae Adams. I'm going to break your question. On offense, I think it's Devontae. On defense, I would trade for Max Crosby. I think I would like trade some pretty nice capital. He is a monster. He plays so many snaps.
Yeah.
He is like on the field all the time. He's really great.
I want Max Crosby.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my answer.
Yeah.
I know I'm the one asking the questions, but
answer.
That's the one that got me excited. Right?
Yeah.
Like when people said, well, what about if the Packers have all this cap now? They can go after, they can get Devontae, they could get T. Higgins, they could sign these guys. And I'm going, yeah, they could. I don't see them doing it, but they could. And then when the Max Crosby came in, I was like, oh, I like that. That makes me feel things in the pants. I'm about that. I want to go there. And so I would love to see that and have that come to fruition. I don't care if it's Keyshawn Nixon working that angle or Josh Jacobs or whoever the hell it is, but get my boy into 1265, please. That would be.
Yeah, it says like Rap Sheet loosely reported that Crosby might welcome a change, particularly if it's to a playoff team where he knows people. And he even says, i.e. Green Bay. Crosby has 2 years and about $44 million remaining on the contract extension he signed. I think it would be a bounty of picks, but man, you talk about, and what do you think about this idea? People are saying like the Packers won't trade their first round pick this year because it's in Green Bay. Do you think there's any credence to that?
No.
Good, because I feel the same way.
I think there's even more of a chance that the Packers trade their pick because it's in Green Bay. It just seems like a Packer thing.
Yeah. If they don't trade it, if we have that pick going into the draft, I promise you we're trading it for 3 second, third, and fourth round picks, and then we're going to trade back up for like the 31st pick. That's how it's going to go if we keep the pick.
Yeah.
We're not staying at 23. Give me a break. There's no way that's happening.
When was the last time the Packers ever did anything you wanted them to with a first round pick?
Ever. Yeah, it's been a long time.
It's been a long ass time. I'm not expecting them to go, well, I mean, we're hosting now, so we should probably do what the fans want. Yeah. No.
I've heard like a lot of weird, like emotional pleas. And I'm like, listen, the Packers are an organization that's built on
they don't care at all.
Doing the right things, doing the same thing. Like they have a philosophy and they stick to it. You think they won't trade that pick just because of where the location? I'm not buying it. And trust me, I think and that was originally brought up with the Myles Garrett stuff, like you'd have to give away a 20. It would probably be this year, next year, and maybe the year after, first round pick. And somebody was like, well, I think you got to keep this one. And you like put a bunch of picks maybe later. And I'm like, first of all, why would they do that? Our picks are never going to be as competitive as some of the other teams are going to get them. Like you have to trade for draft capital now. That's the other thing about Myles Garrett. It's going to be tough. It's like you're like 15 teams are calling and they're probably with worse records than the Packers. You know what I mean? That's like, we get outbid all the time because us and the Steelers have the same syndrome where we don't really pick lower than the high teens.
Right.
You know? Anyways, but I think that I just don't think T makes a lot of sense. I think T Higgins fully benefits from Jamar Chase existing. And I think there is a very real possibility that him going to be a number one somewhere else his production might be different. And he's not injury prone, but he's been sidelined with some pretty big injuries. And also he just plays a slot. We got a guy. He's just not the right guy. Same thing with Deebo Samuel. Yeah. And also I'm not trying to like, this is like weird body shaming stuff. He's a professional athlete, but like Deebo looks to me not in the same game shape as he was, let's say, the first time he went to the Super Bowl, and that's putting it politely. So I just like, there's like various questions. I think like if we talk about like earnestly gettable, I think DK Metcalf is super gettable, and I think he is like the most idealized version of like MBS. Just like a massive dude who is just bigger than everybody and is going to muscle people out of deep balls. And I think that would do a lot for Jordan Love. And I think that's an addition, especially with Christian Watson being out for 12 weeks. That's an addition that I see that I go, this does not affect the rest of the receivers. You still have Dobbs doing possession stuff. You still have Reed doing slant stuff. You still have Wicks absurd skill tree against like their third or fourth cornerback. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't necessarily change that hierarchy too much. And I think truly like
I don't know that Metcalf solves that issue though.
He's Christian Watson in terms of geometry. Just a big guy, like just verticality.
I still don't think he answers the question of what Josh Jacobs said the team needs.
DK Metcalf is the number one wide receiver in this league. I don't think anybody is. I mean, him and Russ were like damn near unstoppable until Russ. I mean, I don't know what happened in Seattle, but his arm started going. He got older. I don't think it's DK's fault. I just think he does enough right. Like his physical attributes would lend itself to this Packers team. And I don't think like that he's absolutely a number one guy. I think like
I'd much rather have Devontae back.
Well, yeah, same. I mean, that was my answer. I mean, I didn't say DK originally. I'm saying like in terms of like realistic, I think first of all, I don't know if they trade for anybody, but if pie in the sky, like it's Devontae, and it might not be a trade. I think they're really gonna probably cut. So it's like that we're talking about a free agent pickup too. So it's like if we were going to trade for a receiver, I'd say I would like DK. I think that's like the reasonable. It's like if they got DK and Khalil Mack, I'd be like, this is 90% of everything I'd want out of this. And you're not busting open the piggy bank. pie in the sky, Max Crosby, and we signed Devontae Adams to look. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. That
neither really would
give
put
me
us
horny.
in.
Yeah,
Neither one of us would really put us in like cap jail, but we'll see. I don't really know. It's like the coaching carousel's done. Kellen Moore just got announced as the Saints head coach, which we all knew. Yep. So he got his ring and his keys to his apartment. So condo, mansion. I don't know. But
yeah, that mansion, condo, apartment.
Yeah, but we'll see. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Obviously, it's free agency next, and then it's the combine. I'm not like the biggest grind the tape guy, but I do pay attention to a lot of the prospects. I think the Packers have like a proven like relative athletic score formula, so I'll definitely be keeping my eyes on that. And if there's anything that jumps out as we get closer to the draft, I'll start highlighting some guys that I think make a lot of sense. But that's probably where we can leave the Packers for this week.
Yeah, let's continue the trade talks though, and move to the NBA.
Yeah, Chris I can't. Middleton. Can you? Oh, I thought you wanted to talk about DeLon Wright. Got traded with cash.
Nope.
Oh.
Nope.
Okay.
No.
Damn.
I want to talk about Luka, and the fact that Luka Doncic is no longer.
That's right. That is
playing for the Mavs, because that literally broke the world.
Yeah.
I mean, people saying this is the biggest shocking trade in the history of sports. I don't know that that's true.
It's
I think
up there.
There's some recency bias, but it's probably top 5.
It's absolutely up there. When you talk about like the type of talent that they let leave, they willingly dealt. It is really up there. When you start digging into like his age, the fact that the Mavs could have offered him a supermax that would have kept him in Dallas for 6 years.
Yeah. How old was Ray Allen when the Bucks let him go?
This is nowhere close.
I understand. I'm not saying it's the same. I'm saying this is what it reminded me of, though. Okay, I'm such a small market sports fan, that I'm used to teams having the opportunity to pay a lot of money for big players and choosing not to, and getting anything they can for them before they become a free agent. That is the small market. That is the Wisconsin sports methodology. That's what we're used to. Mm-hmm. That's what we saw with so many other players in the past throughout Wisconsin sports history. So I was stunned that a different organization did it, and that that the Mavs specifically didn't take advantage of what seemed like a obvious decision. But I wasn't stunned. I wasn't like, I can't believe that this is happening in sports.
I couldn't believe it happened. Truthfully, I checked. I thought maybe Shams got hacked, and then it started getting reported by other people. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's been a 5-time NBA All-Star. 5 of the 6 years he was in the league.
Yeah, I mean, he's also
one of the top. He's like a top 5
franchise of the league.
Oh,
yeah. No, I'm
for Anthony Davis.
Right. I'm stunned that the trade happened.
Yeah.
But because of the scenario and where they were and what it was for, when you put all the pieces together, it just doesn't make sense. But I mean, the only reasoning you heard behind it was that they were worried about his athleticism and his endurance.
Yeah, the smear campaign on the way out to justify the trade was pretty disgusting, in my opinion. I mean, if you have those concerns, then so be it. But the optics of trading him in the middle of the season like that, pretty wild.
It was not great. Yeah, it was not a great look. And
then Anthony Davis hurt and out an indefinite amount of time right now post trade.
Yeah.
Daniel Gafford, their center, hurt. So I don't know. There's like,
imagine being a Mavs fan.
I cannot. I mean, apparently, bring it back to Wisconsin. Apparently, they did call Milwaukee about Giannis, and they're like, "Get out of here! No shot.
Which can I just say? The city would have rioted.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we would have done stupid, dumb, terrible things.
Yeah.
If that,
I mean, there's like death threats on Nico Harris's head. He has like a full-time security detail. So, we might have matched the Mavs. I think it's pretty bad, but yeah, I mean, it's just it's a wild move. I think it had rippling effects too in the league. Honestly, I think it like really kind of screwed up some trades. I think maybe you would have seen some different trades happen. There's like market setting stuff, some other notable trades. And obviously we know Chris Middleton got traded. We'll talk about that. It's a big deal. We're just bouncing around the greater league. It's like the Jimmy Butler trade finally went through. That was pretty nuts. Zach LaVine, obviously that was actually, I think, reported when we were trying to think of some other big ones.
That was reported prior to this.
But I mean, the Luka one was just so much bigger than everything else.
It was just because there was no talk about that. That wasn't.
Yeah.
It was a shock value too.
Yeah.
No one saw it coming.
Yeah.
It wasn't being reported by anyone. There were no rumors of Luka being, and then boom, he's gone. Yeah. Middleton, on the other hand, had been talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Of being traded. And I think that we were kind of in agreement, or at least my stance on it was, I didn't see the Bucks making a trade because I didn't think that they were going to get what they needed back.
Yep.
Whether it was from Bobby or for Middleton or for Brooke. I mean, take your pick. It was going to be, what are we going to get back for any of these guys that teams are going to want them? Yep. And then he goes to the Wizards for Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah.
Hated that. Yeah. Can you try telling me why, like from a basketball standpoint, not a fan perspective, but on the court, why I can be okay with this trade? Because right now I'm like, this is stupid.
Well, I will first say I understand if you're not okay with it. From a basketball standpoint, I think it's a pretty lateral move. But I think the way things had been going, and then you read about some reports, Jim Ozarski came out with an article that basically highlighted like Chris was pretty resistant to coming off the bench. It sounds like there might have been some friction. It seems like some other players might have been unhappy. So there might have been some stuff going on in the background where the situation, I wouldn't say became untenable. I think they all like each other. I think this iteration of the Bucks has run the course. Reasons to be excited. Kyle Kuzma, I think unlocks the small ball lineup with Giannis at the 5 a whole hell of a lot. That was like what everyone was talking about. There's like proof of concept in the first couple games, even with Giannis not playing. Also a pretty big headline. He's sidelined until after the All-Star break, which is great because I don't need to see Giannis right now. I want to see Giannis in April and May and June. Hoisting the Larry O'Brien.
Please.
Sponsored by Dubai or whatever they're calling it.
Whatever it is. Just hoist a trophy.
Just hoisting a trophy. Saying we did it, Kuz. Anyways. I just think it unlocks that potential at the 5. I think really there's not a lot of front court depth that is athletic. I think Kyle Kuzma's athleticism pops off the screen. You can see that immediately. He's a boards machine. I think you're seeing a pretty immediate buy-in. I think right now he's being a good Boy Scout in terms of just saying like, hey, I'm here. I'm wanting to make willing plays. He's a bit of a wild ride, but what it does is it just adds more athleticism on the roster, period. And that's really, when we talk about it, I don't know if we needed Chris's playmaking more than we needed athleticism,
So what I'm getting from this is the real reason why it happened is because Chris got a little bit of an attitude when he wasn't the shiny new toy anymore. And that became enough friction to where they said, look, if we can get something that could put a little spark back in this team, it's worth the trade.
Yep. Yeah, we go from a big 3 to like a dominant big 2. I mean, I think it really kind of underlines Dame, we need you to be Portland Trailblazers Dame, and he's already been doing that. Giannis out. Like he just went 38 points with Steph Curry. He had 10 turnovers. I watched some of them. They were not his fault, but I just mean like he's still a walking bucket. And I think he took a backseat to Giannis last year. There was those reports about Finn Baker. So I think the team is those two. I mean, we did trade DeLon Wright for Jericho Sims. I wasn't like joking. I think that's exciting. He hasn't played yet, but he is like, he already becomes like the 3rd most dunker on the team. Yeah. He's just a super bouncy athletic center, which we desperately need behind Brooke. Bobby's back, and Bobby's looking pretty good, maybe unlocked in some of these lineups. I just think the team is different, and I don't know if it makes.
Are you worried at all about the chemistry mid-season with this, though? If this team identity is changing that much?
No, and yes. No, in the sense that Chris was really heavily on minutes restrictions. There was a lot of defensive stuff that it's like, I think the vibes are just different, which could become better as everyone gets more acclimated. I will say something I was not expecting is Kyle Kuzma is an infinitely better screen setter than Giannis. I mean, you've been on vacation, so I don't know if you've watched any of these games, but man, Giannis really can't set a screen because nobody's ever been setting a screen for Giannis. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
Kyle, they still have not felt the weight of Giannis. You know what I mean? Like, we're still learning how to play. And it's almost easier to instill Giannis because you just go, Giannis is going to do stuff. Just be active.
Giannis is going to be Giannis. Yeah.
And he has the athleticism to do it. The shady side of the Bucks, you know, if we're going to highlight maybe Chris is being unhappy, we can also highlight the fact that it was very obvious this trade got the Bucks under the second apron, which means their picks aren't frozen. It not only does it it also Kyle Kuzma is on a super friendly team contract. It's actually depreciating value as it goes on. So it's like a pretty nice contract. So it just also positions the team to extend this window a little bit further. To
be in a better get a few more bites of the apple.
Except for the bite this apple. I mean, it's a Giannis apple. I still say if Giannis and Dame are healthy, this team could really upset a lot of teams.
God bless Giannis forever.
Yeah. God bless him forever. I will say this. I did have that reckoning where I was like, oh man, if the Mavs traded Luka, feels insane. But it's like in a year or two, it's like the Bucks might trade Giannis. And I was like,
well, did you see what Giannis said when he was asked about it?
Well, so he said he wants to see European stars in all the major.
No. But he said, look, no one is safe.
Oh yeah.
No one is safe.
Yeah. He gave a very serious answer and then said, let
Giannis
me be funny.
Is safe. Yeah. Giannis needs to be safe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We cannot no.
Well, I'm not talking about it from the Bucks. I'm saying if Giannis wants out, if it's obvious this team can't win. I'm just saying, like, I for the first time in a long time had to be like, oh shit, a star of team I root for might want out before I think it's time. Which sucks.
God, I don't want
to think about it. I hope he retires a Buck. And totally. I mean, but I think the team, we'll see, right? I mean, they've got 30 games left. They have to play a pretty tough one. They have a tough schedule. I don't think they're going to climb their way back to the fourth, but if they can go fifth seed, they have a pretty decent path, honestly, because the Celtics would then have to like face the Knicks in the second round. So it's like, we're going up against Cleveland. They're big. They got Daniil Hunter. That is scary. They're a very talented roster up and down the lineup right now. But I just refuse to count out Damon Giannis. And I think like some of these pieces are clicking. So we'll see. I think there's a little bit of like, I don't want to say addition by subtraction but it's like addition by different addition.
Addition by addition. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see.
And then finally, as we wrap up the podcast here, because we both love it, we got to talk a little wrestling.
Yeah,
wrestling here.
We're officially on the road to wrestle. We're officially on the road to WrestleMania.
Royal Rumble has always been my favorite pay-per-view. I love it more than WrestleMania, SummerSlam. Anyway,
really, I'm a big Fastlane guy.
Yeah. Said no one ever.
Yeah.
It's the most pointless pay-per-view ever. Having it right before.
I don't know. Clash of the Castle kind of rules.
No,
I'm like, my answer is like, what's your favorite holiday? I'm basically saying Flag Day with these.
Yeah, people listening to this go, I don't even know what those are.
Yeah.
There's a reason you don't.
Yeah,
because they suck and they're stupid. But the big takeaway I had from the Royal Rumble this year was that Alexa Bliss was back, and I loved that.
Yeah,
she's awesome, and I am excited to see that. I loved Charlotte Flair. Spoiler: Charlotte Flair won the Royal Rumble. Love that. Then she got booed.
Yeah.
Because
in Cleveland the next night, right? That's what you're referring to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which was perfect.
Yeah, she's got to lean into being a heel.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
Because
you could see it a little more on her SmackDown promo. I don't know if you watched SmackDown, but when she was talking to Tiffy, she was way more like, "Are we booing or are we cheering?" And they started booing. She said, "Great. Well, here's the deal." And it's just like so. It was interesting. The Charlotte Flair promo on Raw, just real quick, because we could totally have a completely separate wrestling.
Yeah, we could do a whole different podcast. Yeah.
I will say the earnest act when you've always billed yourself as the cock of the walk. No one cares. Just be the cock of the walk again. You just won Royal Rumble after being off for 14 months. Why are you saying like it was tough? Like I get it might have been tough as a shoot, as a shoot, but as a work, I'm back. It's more of the same. I'm on top. I'm coming for everybody's everything.
Right. Play the hits.
But she's the greatest female wrestler of all time. She the division and women's wrestling is as athletic and I think it's competitive because she set a very high bar the minute they stopped forcing these women to parade around in bikinis and underwear. You know what I mean? When it stopped being divas, she was like, great, this is a real division. I'm here. Shape up or ship out.
Yeah.
You know, so anyways, back to the Royal Rumble.
And then in the men's Royal Rumble was the big shocker.
Yeah.
As Jey Uso wins the Royal Rumble, beating.
I'm about to get
John
it.
Cena.
Uso. Yeah.
And now I do have to say, and I did immediately go to Twitter to give myself credit, but when John Cena on the first Raw on Netflix cut his promo saying that he's going to be in the Royal Rumble, I said, wow, John Cena on Raw, which is on Netflix, just guaranteed that he's going to get really close to, but then eventually lose the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, there were some tea leaves too. He had talked about how he was going to be in Toronto at Elimination Chamber, giving back to the Toronto fans that he always loved. And it's like, well, what is he doing in Elimination Chamber if he's not going to be in the Elimination Chamber? So,
right.
I thought it was interesting. I thought Seth was going to win. That was my prediction. I thought Seth Rollins might take it. I was feeling like a sneaky. This was the most stacked men's Royal Rumble. There was like literally Joe Hendry wasn't really a surprise because of that TNA announcement that they're going to be like working in developmental deals. But like when you talk about who else was surprised, was there any?
Well, yeah, when it started, there were a few like tag team.
Well, there's like some funnier choices or like less competitive choices, I'd say, but none.
Yeah.
Normally it's a huge spectacle. You might get like people were saying like maybe Bad Bunny. Last year they had Pat leave the announcer desk and then just get right down. I think the Tozawa into the iShow Speed, that was like a pretty fun. That was probably the quirkiest thing. Watching Braun Breaker saw him in half was hilarious.
Yeah,
and
that
then
was
watching
cool.
Otis like Luthez press him just like into the table. That was great too.
Yeah.
So it was really fun. I really liked it. I think Elimination Chamber is going to be a lot of fun. I mean, it's already shaped up to basically everybody you thought was in contention at the Royal Rumble is now just going to do it there. As of this recording, more spoilers. If you haven't watched Raw, it's like Logan Paul just stamped his ticket. CM Punk stamped his ticket last week. Drew McIntyre stamped his on SmackDown last week, and then John Cena just said, "Yo, I'll be there. I'm not qualifying. I'm in." And everyone said, "Okay, fine." So I'm curious. Who do you think the last two?
I thought CM Punk was going to win Rumble. By the way, that's why I had.
I thought it was too, but then you erased the Paul Heyman favor. That's kind of like the weird math I'm doing in the background. Why does he need a favor if he just is going to win a chance to go face Cody at WrestleMania?
Yeah. Well, unless
then,
it could be like depending on what the stipulation of the match is.
True. Did you watch Raw yesterday? Am I spoiling Raw?
I did not. But
I'll stop talking about it. I was just going to say, Jay officially announced that he's going to face Gunther at WrestleMania for the which made sense. Yeah, it totally made sense. I've been hearing some fun theories. I listen to like the Masked Man show, which is on the Ringler Wrestling Pod. Really great. David Shoemaker and Kaz. He's on like a bunch of other stuff. He's got a very cool name, and I don't want to pronounce it wrong. Either way, they're very cool dudes. I like their podcast. Somebody pitched on one of them. What is it? What if it's like a Cody 2 nights in a row? Like, you have to like defend the belt one night and then defend it again the next. The winner of that defends it again. Like, there's so many people circling this. They go, cool. Whoever wins this one will face the next one, and Cody's involved in both. And you just get him super over. But I love the J pick. He's super over. Yeah, he's incredible. He's like over like John Cena's over. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy because what is it besides the yeet that like talk about finding a niche and then just running with it.
Well, you talk about like a loyalty guy, right? Like everyone loves an underdog story. Jay was a loyal servant. He was a part of a faithful tag team forever. The bloodline got a little weird in like the 1920s, and he said, I got to go do my own thing. And he's just like a really likable guy. I think like that charisma, that real life charisma, like bleeds over on. And so, sometimes the recipe can be simple. Like Daniel Bryan was one hell of a ring tactician, but when he really got into it, when he really went over was when he started chanting yes, and everybody in the crowd could do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
the yes did everything. Yeah.
Hell no, hell yes. I mean, some of the stuff is like, it's just classic, like lizard brain stuff. So, anyways, so that was announced. So, the last two remaining matches, it's like Braun Strowman, Jacob Fatu, and I forget who. It's like a triple. I don't remember who the third person is on SmackDown. I think that spot's for Jacob Fatu for sure. And then I think it's Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. So I think Finn's going to take it. Oh, it's Damian Priest. It's Damian Priest, Braun Strowman, and Jacob Fatu. That match is actually going to be sick. That'll be very cool to watch. So
I wanted to see when is Elimination Chamber?
March 1st, Saturday, March 1st.
Okay. All right. So we still got a few weeks.
We still got a few. Yeah, there's still a bunch of qualifying matches. The women's side is just as stacked. It's pretty cool. If we revisit, we can revisit that next week as we get a little more answers. Because, for a slow news week, there was definitely still a lot to talk about. I figure. So
tons of stuff. So there'll be plenty to talk to. We're going to start getting into basketball a little bit more now that the NFL is officially done. But there's still so much to hit on with trade rumors and what ends up happening with players and more things.
Baseball,
out.
baseball,
and then baseball will be here before you know it. And I want to kind of end this as we're wrapping up here on this. Did you see the euchre patch that has been unveiled and that is going to be on the jerseys?
Yes. It's awesome. The plaid is incredible. Yeah,
it's so awesome.
Yeah,
our friend Brian reached out to one of our friends, Sean, at the Brewers, and said, "Please tell me that this is going to be on other things besides just their jerseys. I want it on a hat. I want it on, just the patch in general. Let me buy the patch." It's such a well done art piece that hopefully can be repped on many, many things this year for Uke. And excited about baseball, excited about the weather being warmer. We got a lot of snow coming here. Boo, boo.
Yeah, what's the weather like? What's the weather like?
Be like 4 to 8 inches tomorrow. So not looking forward to that.
Well,
we'll see if it actually becomes that, and if it does, then we'll just sit and watch more things on the TV. Watch more sports. We'll stay inside.
Hey, what else is there to do?
That's right. I want to thank everyone for sticking with us. Sorry that we didn't have anything last week, but we put it all into one tonight. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you, John. Missed you, pal. Glad we could get back on and do one. And don't go anywhere. Stay tuned because we are not done yet.